The Dry, which is based on the best-selling novel of the same name, and it stars Eric Bana, Bebe Bettencourt, among other various actors and actresses. And The Dry is about an FBI agent that goes back to his hometown for his former best friend's funeral, alongside his former best friend's family's funeral. And it's known that his former best friend killed his family and then drove himself into the desert and killed himself. And the story and plot is basically set around Eric Bana's character being the FBI agent who goes through the case alongside a suicide case from his teenage years for his other friend, who was played by Bebe Bettencourt, and it was always presumed to be a suicide by drowning. And The Dry takes you through about an hour and 50-minute time frame of establishing its characters alongside the mysteries. And if you go into The Dry expecting an action film, you will be highly and severely disappointed. This is a character study film through and through. This is an hour and 50 minutes of learning and understanding both the characters in the present day as well as who they were in the past, alongside how they developed relationships and friendships and how they interacted with their family members and everything. So my personal viewpoint on the film The Dry is as follows. Beautiful cinematography. There are a lot of encapsulated scenes right before every scenario where they have to go to a different location in the hometown, where it just kind of, the camera just kind of pans on the whole setting of where they're approaching, and it just looks gorgeous, especially whenever they do that for the desert around the outskirts of the hometown. The filming of it is just beautiful, and I watched this in 2160p, so full 4K off of Vudu, and it looked gorgeous on my 55-inch 4K HDR TV. The story and plot for me was extremely thrilling and engaging. The mystery, and it's not just one mystery, it's kind of two mystery plots meshed into one. And what I can say is there are many plot twists throughout the film, more specifically at the very end, in the last 15 to 20 minutes or so, where you, throughout the entire film, you think you know it all, and then they throw another plot twist, and you're just encapsulated with just the thrilling, absorbing story involving plot twists and mysteries and who done did it, did they do it, and that kind of stuff. And as I just touched base, it is a very absorbing personal story. This is not an action film. This is a character study, and it's not just based around one character's character study. The character goes back to his hometown and attends his best friend's funeral, but you learn not even just the still living characters. You learn about the deceased characters as well, going from the past and present and intertwining the timelines, and I think they do it extremely well. You can always tell when you're in the past and when you're in the present, not necessarily by color shifts or anything like that. The way they present it in the direction and just the storytelling narrative and the focus of it, you just can tell. I would say it's because it makes you that engaged in the film. As I stated in the story's synopsis, there are many plot twists, particularly at the very end. The plot twists, they're not really heavy-handed. They always kind of have a resolve of ambiguity to them, but they're still nerve-wracking and edge-of-your-seat plot twists where when something is revealed, you're still just encapsulating. You're like, wow, wow. Just, that's all you can do is just say wow. And heartbreaking, I mean heartbreaking resolutions. Every story in The Dry is resolved, and I loved the personal stories, all of them in The Dry. I loved how they handled the writing. I loved the plot. I loved the characters. The actors and actresses' performances in this film were so endearing. They were just so passionate. They made me feel like I was living in this same world with them. I was watching their story unfold to a point where by the end of this film, there were a couple times where I ended up sitting and just crying to damn near just bawling my eyes out. The resolutions of the mysteries and the story it's all just heartbreaking through and through. Everything about The Dry is heartbreaking. Right down from the FBI agent going to his hometown, basically being shunned for being labeled something that he may or may not have done. I don't want to give the story away. I'm trying to be as ambiguous as possible. What I can say as the biggest and most endearing thing from me is you need to watch The Dry, whether it's watching it somewhere in a theater or watching it at home, as I did, but you need to watch The Dry. If you love character studies and character explorations and mysteries and that kind of stuff, you will love The Dry. Don't watch this if you are just an action junkie. There are scenes you could interpret as violent scenes, but I wouldn't really say that they're geared towards action type scenes. They're filmed to be kind of like feeling like action scenes when in reality they're just kind of scenes meant to absorb you into what's going on. And I know that sounds really odd, but it pays off so well to not be an action film, because you learn and you love and dislike everybody, okay? There is not one person in this film that's just one note. Every character is a decent being in some semblance of a way, but every character is also a bad person in some semblance of a way. The Dry is an extremely well-written, well-directed film. I highly recommend The Dry. For me, I just watched The Dry at the end of last week. For me, this is the film of 2020 or 2021, depending on when you watched it. I guess it released around New Year's, so it could have been in between 2020 and 2021. I can say for me, this is so far my 2021 film of the year, The Dry. The Dry is a 10 out of 10. So far, it's the best film I've seen for 2021. Thank you.